All right, welcome everyone. Thanks for coming to the webinar evening. My name's Janet Barlow and I'm the Executive Director of Hike Nova Scotia. So thanks for joining us for our Solar Lighting for Trails and Public Spaces webinar. It is offered through our Trail Builders Network, and it is supported by Solar Winds Energy and the Nova Scotia Department of Communities, Culture, Tourism and Heritage. So the Trail Builders Network is our capacity building hub for trail groups, First Nations, and municipalities that build and maintain hiking trails. We represent the largest group of trail users and we represent trail building groups. I do want to acknowledge that we are in Mi'kma'ki, which is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. The Mi'kmaq were the first hikers, and there are trails in Nova Scotia that are literally thousands of years old. A little bit of housekeeping. So this webinar will be about an hour and a half in total. So if you have questions, we ask that you save them until the end. And at that time, you can put your hand up and unmute and ask your question, or you can write your question in the chat and we'll monitor that at that time. But we do ask that you stay muted for the presentation to reduce background noise, and we do ask that you keep your videos turned off to avoid distraction and visual clutter on the screen. If you are having technical problems, please see the troubleshooting link in your confirmation email, and you can also try the settings icon on your screen or try phoning in. Also, before we get started, I do want to tell you a little bit about Hike Nova Scotia. I promise it'll be quick. Those of you who've come to our webinars probably can say this verbatim along with me, but Hike Nova Scotia is a provincial nonprofit and we're just trying to grow a culture of hiking in our beautiful province. We strive to be the voice for those who hike, walk, and snowshoe, as well as those who build and maintain hiking trails. So we're about hiking promotion, education, and just encouraging people to get out onto the trails. So we do this in a number of ways. We offer our seasonal guided hike and walk series. The winter series is on right now. We run the NS Walks Walking Group program. We run the Hiking Summit Annual Conference coming up in October in Digby this year. We offer a number of skill building in-person courses as well as webinars. We promote the International Appalachian Trail in Nova Scotia. We have the Hiker Challenge where you can earn badges. And of course, we have the Trail Builders Network. We are member-based and paid members get lots of perks and discounts. We also have a website and social media that are really great resources for hiking and trail information and events. So what I will do is come off of sharing to get to the good stuff. So our presenter today is Neil Martin, the director of Solar Winds Energy, which is a Newfoundland and Labrador-based renewable energy company focused on solar wind, energy storage, EV charging, and off-grid power solutions. With a strong technical background in microelectronics, electrical systems, and hands-on trades, Neil specializes in designing and deploying reliable energy infrastructure in remote and harsh climate environments. And he's coming to us from Newfoundland, which I know personally, having visited there many times, can sometimes be a harsh environment. Neil has led and supported projects across Atlantic Canada involving community solar lighting, trail and public space infrastructure, backup power systems, and off-grid renewable installations. His work emphasizes practical design, long-term reliability, and solutions tailored to real-world operating conditions. As a speaker, Neil brings a grounded, experience-driven perspective on renewable energy deployment, climate resilience, and community-scale infrastructure. And joining Neil on this webinar are his co-workers Megan Brinston and Krista Edwards, and I'll let them say hi and introduce themselves in more detail if they would like. And I will hand this over to the Solar Winds Energy folks.
Hi, everybody. My name is Megan Brinston, and I'm the Sales and Business Development Rep for Solar Winds Energy. Just a little bit about me. I'm not originally from Newfoundland, but I moved here just recently with my husband. And Janet's definitely right. The weather can be a little unforgiving here, but I definitely love it. And it's definitely a different move for us, but I'm enjoying it here very much. and we'll pass it on to if Krista wants to give a brief introduction.
Well, there we go. Hi, my name is Krista. I am the Chief Operations Officer for Solar Winds Energy. I am from Newfoundland. I lived away for a long time and now I'm back. Very much enjoy working with Solar Winds and enjoy working with Neil and Megan and the rest of our team. And I will now pass it off to Neil.
Hi, everybody. I'm Neil Martin. I lived in Newfoundland most of my life, and yeah, our weather here is pretty severe at times. Recently, we've had snowstorm after snowstorm, and I'm sure you've been experiencing quite a bit of winter weather yourself. We're actually working right now on a remote location here in Newfoundland in St. Vincent's on the southern shore of the Avalon Peninsula, doing a remote solar install. So much of our work is based remotely, and we spend a lot of time in remote locations figuring out how to do things that's going to work in our environment. And I've got family from Nova Scotia as well, in Sydney, North Sydney, and in fact, my family's from Glace Bay. The Martin side of the family's from Glace Bay, so we spent some time over there as well. And the climate is very similar to here at home. But I purchased Solar Winds Energy in June. I worked for the company for several years, and I'm taking over the company from someone who has really believed in solar energy quite a bit. We were actually the first company that started in 2001 to bring solar power to Eastern Canada and to Newfoundland in particular. And one of the products that we brought into Newfoundland was the solar lighting. And as you know, solar lighting can be hit and miss depending on what you're getting. And we worked with different companies across the country and throughout the world to try to find the correct product for our environment. And when I say our environment, it means all of Eastern Canada. We had products installed in Nain and Hopedale and places in Southern Labrador, Flowertoe, Labrador, right on down through Nova Scotia. We work with Parks Canada as well, providing different products. As well as our lighting, we provide battery backup solutions and inverter solutions, a lot of off-grid things, including generators. And our work with DFO includes Department of Fisheries and Oceans. We do work for lighthouses around Newfoundland, providing them with renewable energy solutions as well, because many of those are off-grid and they don't operate with any power. With that experience and expertise that we have, we're trying to expand our solar lighting across Eastern Canada. And one of the lights that we wanted to show you is very, very popular. Just have a look at the slideshow here now. We do have solar lighting for trail associations across Newfoundland, but we're not as well organized as you are in Nova Scotia. And we wanted to start this slide here explaining some of the products that we have. I think Megan has the controls there. Go to the next slide. There we go. Why lighting? Well, as an avid hiker, I love hiking. I do it all year round. I snowshoe and I do cross-country ski. And one of the big limitations in Newfoundland, because we're even farther north than you folks, is that in the wintertime, the sun goes down very early and comes up very late in the morning. So solar lighting has been able to illuminate my own property, as well as many of the trails that we work with in Eastern Newfoundland that are lit year round. Why solar lighting? Daylight is so important. Like I said, it's hard to get out and enjoy yourself. As you know, you have your own trails, and safety is such a big issue nowadays, especially with all the things going on, and having lighting and security is very important. Often when I go hiking with my family, including I'll take my mother along with me. She's getting older and she finds it very difficult to get around, so I have to go with her. But with a lot of these solar lighting solutions, she finds it, very accessible now. She doesn't worry about, getting stuck out in the woods and not being able to get back home. There's a lot of things that go along with solar lighting as well, because, like I said, in Newfoundland, we're not as well set up with a trail association as such. Each little town kind of has their own trails, but it's very impromptu, and it's generally supported directly by the townships themselves. But we understand that having a trail association, there's a lot of liability that goes with that as well. You're worried about slips, trips, and falls. Worried about vandalism. You're worried about dangerous people in parks, and that's a lot that goes with insurance and things as well for your trails. And solar lighting gives you a lot of that protection, because ultimately it's about the cost. For each light that you install using conventional power, you're looking at several $1,000s a light plus the cost of operating that light. And a solar light can cost you anywhere from $500 to $1,500 installed, and you have reliable lighting throughout the year. That's a big thing about communities is, people want to have the confidence to be able to go out and enjoy the trails and the park areas. And you might notice also, like we have, the population is aging a lot in our provinces, and it's harder to get older people out. We have a town named Triton here in Newfoundland. Some of you may be familiar with the town of Triton on the northern coast of Newfoundland. And one of the things that they did, they converted some of their old baseball fields into walking trails for senior citizens. They've actually paved around the outside of the field and installed our lights, so that way the seniors can have a groomed trail to walk on. And some seniors I've even seen on skis, which I was really impressed. Cross country ski and snowshoes. There's a note on here about grant competitiveness. I know you guys are, there's not a whole lot of money available for trails. It's hard often to get donations and grants for things. But it makes it very competitive when you have a product that that's going to be reliable. I'm sure that you've all seen solar lighting. There's different designs of solar lights out there. But getting back to what I said in my opening is, there are so many different kinds of solar lights, and we've gone through thousands of different lights in the last decade. And are they vandal resistant? That's a good question, and it's okay if everyone asks questions. I don't mind. It's usually how I have conversations anyway. Over the last 15 years, we've only had, I believe, 2 instances of vandalism. The reason why it was discovered because kids were able to access the lights with some hockey sticks or something, and they hit the lenses off the light. These are very durable light lens. They're polycarbonate, and they're very durable even at very cold temperatures. But the customer had them installed at a very low height, about, I think it was 10 or 12 feet, which were pretty accessible, and they did get damaged. But it was only the lenses. They were $30 each, and they just popped some new lenses on there, and the lights were ready to go. We haven't had many instances here in Newfoundland with vandalism. I know every place is different. Like right now, I'm in a place right now where there's barely any people. I'd say there's 400 people in the area. But vandalism is actually higher than it is in the Clarenville area, which has several thousand people. And depending where these trails are, they're, I remember being a kid, you see a light up there and you throw a rock at it, right? And that's the way things are. But they're very durable light. In fact, I even took one light here today to show you. I took it apart, but it's not plastic. It's completely metal. It's aluminum magnesium housing. That's the armature for one of our lights, the moonlight. In fact, the one you see in the picture there has the same armature right there. And the lens is a polycarbonate. And I took this apart because I was going to show you later how it all works. But even the entire assembly here is all made of aluminum and magnesium, and it's IP65 rated. And I'll get into more components later just to show you, but this is a very durable light. Our own park, Bowering Park, has had their lights installed for over 12 years. We haven't had to replace one there. There is vandalism in the park, but we have never had the issue where we had to replace a light. And the climate here is pretty extreme, like it is home for you guys. And we never have an issue having to replace lights. The only time we've had issues with lights is that if the lens is not installed properly, because it has a trunnion lock on it, 3 points. And sometimes if they're not installed quite correctly, you can get moisture coming in, and that can damage some of the components inside. Even then, these components are pretty cheap to replace, and you can just swap out individual components, which I'll show you later. What's Megan show me here? Oh, we're back to the start. That's one light. Megan showed me here the Helion light as well. I don't have one of these models on hand, but I think we have a picture there, one of my barn at home. But they're also a great light, and they're very strong and vandal proof. Actually, speaking of vandal proof, I want to mention something about solar panels. Whoever doesn't know about solar panels are actually made from a couple layers of tempered glass, and you can actually throw I wouldn't say a big rock, but you could throw a rock at these if you had to, or if you had very heavy hail, and they'll stand up to it pretty much any beating that you give them. Again, it's all a metal armature fixture on these things, so they're very durable, and we've never ever had to replace one because it was broken. And moving on to this Helion light here, this light is actually ideal for like it shows here, trail intersections. I put one on my barn because I wanted to test it out there a few years ago. I wanted to see how tough it was. We've had a few issues with them where they weren't installed correctly, but these lights can actually light an area, about 100 feet by 100 feet easily. And I'm sure some of you are going to ask as well about how long they run through the winter. Well, being slightly farther north in our latitude than you folks are, our worst months, I say, probably are February, and these are in locations that are very overcast. Last year, we had very little overcast, and our lights, because they actually use I'll get a little bit technical with you now. Some of you guys may understand, some of you may not, but there's two different types of solar modules, and it's pretty easy to detect them. There's actually a black style module. See how they're black? And there's also one that's rather blue colored. The one that's blue is called polycrystalline. And polycrystalline, basically what they do, they chop up a bunch of small pieces of silicon, and they embed it in glass with an epoxy, and they're about 8% efficiency. Now, the panels that we use are called a monocrystalline panel, and they use individual wafers of silicon that are shaved very thin and laid out very specifically and very accurately with a metal grid over them, and they actually produce up to 21 or 22% efficiency for the power. So for a very small panel, is actually able to fully charge one of these lights even in February with very low light conditions, and actually be able to produce enough energy to have the light run for up to 2 days without any sunlight at all, very overcast and snowy. And here we do have a lot more overcast days than you do on the east coast of Canada or in Nova Scotia, with less light also in the wintertime. But my light runs all winter. The worst I've had it, like I said, in February, if the panel gets snow covered, which it can. And another question. Distance between the lights on a trail will be roughly 200 feet apart. That's a good question. That's a great question. Depending on how you want to have the light laid out, some places like to have a lot of security and they want to have the light swath. So you understand the cone of light comes down off the light. We recommend that our lights are installed. We'd like to see them at least 16 to 20 feet high for the moonlight. And these floodlights that you see here, they can be mounted even much higher. And you could actually flood an area about 200 feet square. So yes, you could mount them about 200 feet apart if you want to, but that's quite a large space. You need to mount the light quite high. And you're looking at balancing cost. Because you're looking at a light that's between $200, $300, $400, $500, depending on the light exactly. And if you have a pole that's too short, you're only going to have a light radius that's very small. You're only going to have a swath of about 50 feet, if that. So ideally, what you want to do is have the light up at least 20 feet if you want to have a good swath area, but you want to minimize the space between them. In the town of Fogo, here in Newfoundland, they have a trail that's very serpentine, a lot of zigzags and a lot of dark corners. They've actually installed their lights at about 100 feet apart. That gives you the ability to kind of, it's called islanding. It gives you the ability to kind of see between the islands of light and you know where to travel. Ideally, I like to see our moonlights mounted at about 75 feet apart. And that's a good question that came up there as well. So 75 feet apart is usually ideal. 50 feet if you want, to have really good security and you want to be able to have no islanding. And 100 feet apart, we've seen that, but 200 feet apart would be quite distant. Now, we just had a question come up there again. What was that question? Wasn't it here? Sorry about that.
Oh, are the lights timed or motion censored?
Yes, yes. That's a great question. I'll show you the remote we have here. So on this remote, we have a demo button. That's obviously for demo. There's an off button. There's also a moon, and there's also a little clock, and there's also a motion icon. Looks like a Wi-Fi symbol, and another button that combines the clock and the Wi-Fi symbol. So the nice thing about our moonlight and our sailing light products is that there's a sensor built into them to detect motion. So you have the option to turn the light on with the moon on the remote here, and you can have just dawn to dusk, which means that as soon as it gets duckish, as we say duckish, as soon as it gets a bit dark, the light will come on automatically and it'll run throughout the night until either the battery goes dead, which is very, very late in the winter time, or until dawn. The other option is you can set the light for a timer. You can do 2, 4, or 6 hours after dusk, and the light will stay on and then go out. And then you have another option here for motion detection, and this will allow your light to come on at about 50% luminescence, and it will operate throughout the night at about 50%. And as soon as you walk within 75 feet of that light, it'll actually brighten up. So it's really nice if you want to have your lights running the whole night during winter and when it's very dark, or if you have shaded areas. Sometimes folks install their lights in areas that are very dark. In the trailways, they have tall trees, and this allows the battery to hold its capacity far longer. It allows people to have the sense of safety, to be able to say, hey, I can walk down there because there's some light, but it lights up that island of light for you as you walk near it. Kind of like when you go to the hardware store, they have those automatic lights in the aisles. Works much like that. Do we have any more questions there?
Oh, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, getting back to the Helion light here. This light here is actually ideal for gazebos, because I'm sure a lot of townships and trail networks use gazebos. And we've offered these for gazebos. And here's something that's really neat that we discovered by happenstance. We like to go out and walk the trails ourselves. And we've walked pretty much every trail in Newfoundland, and there's outhouses along these trails. And a lot of outhouses, what do to get some light inside? They have a hole in the roof with plexiglass over it. I'm sure you've all seen it, and some of you have them. These Helion lights can actually be installed right on the outside on the window that's in the roof, and that can actually operate as a light in the nighttime to keep that outhouse lit up. These Helion lights, we've had them out there for about 10 years. They operate just fine. I'm sure someone's going to ask about how long does the battery last. Like I said, we've had some of these lights out there now for about 12, 13, 14 years, and they've been running on the same batteries. In fact, our older model of the Moonlight, which is called the R25, only had half the output and half the battery capacity, and they still run all night. As it goes for the battery, someone's going to ask as well, what's the technology? It's a lithium iron phosphate battery, and these products, we don't just pick them off the shelf and resell them here. We've worked with the company, the manufacturer, for the last 15 years or so to develop these lights to operate in our climate. I meant to mention that at the start. First, when we had these lights, they were called the R25. There were some other variants of the lights. There was even a different lens on them. It looked like a teardrop. It was a different shaped lens. And we worked with the manufacturer to redevelop the light to suit our climate better, because we're the only distributor for these lights in North America. We bring these lights in, we help develop them for the province. And like I said, these things operate with the batteries that they have. Goose Bay, for instance, the trailway around the airport in Happy Valley Goose Bay. It's actually, I think it's a golf course with a ski trail and a walking trail around it. And we have hundreds of lights up there, and they operate right throughout the winter. I think we have a picture there somewhere in the slides as we go. But it's a very reliable light, same as the Helion light here. It's a great machine. Parking lot edges, trailheads, where people come up to drive their car and they get their dog out of the car and stuff like that. It's a really nice idea to take these lights and put them on a post a couple hundred feet away, up really, really high, and you can flood a great area in a parking lot, because there's a lot of liability for slips, trips, and falls. And also, people don't want to get out of their car in the evening because you know what it's like, 6 o'clock in the evening, late December, early January, and it's dark out. And you want to go for a walk. You want to take your dog out for a walk. You want to go for a stroll with a loved one. And it's dark out. You don't want to get out of your car, and it's hard to get motivated. And health is a big thing about these things. People are stuck in their homes all winter, and it welcomes people out. And we've had different ideas for these lights as well as it goes for affordability, and I'll get that in a couple minutes. But like I said, outhouses, gazebos, bridges is there. They're good for bridge areas, trailheads, parking lot edges, and intersections. That's actually that's a really good question. I'll get to that in a quick second there. Yeah, the high lumen broadcast, the wide beam spread, and these are designed for winter locations. Now, that was a good question that we just had there about heating. There's a big reason why this light is shaped like it is. And the lighting module fits inside. Well, it does two things. It traps heat inside the light, which then also heats up the battery to help the charging function and to help the performance. And sunlight comes in and heats up the inside like a greenhouse and also helps heat up the light. It's a very unique design that you're not going to find anywhere. And it's a design that we've worked on for a long time. That gives a greenhouse effect and keeps that light warm inside. That's why you can use these things in Happy Valley Goose Bay when it's minus 25 out for a week straight, and they still operate. Because as you know, lithium batteries, you ever go for a walk on the trail and your phone is in your pocket? This thing goes dead in about an hour, right? So this greenhouse effect eliminates that whole issue. And we also have, for very, very cold climates, there's a black coating that we're going to be doing on these lights as well to bring in a more light absorption as well. We can move to the next slide there, Megan. Thanks. There's a gazebo. Oh, go back to the last one there, Megan. Yeah, let's look at this one. There's a gazebo on the left side there that I mentioned. They're great for lighting up gazebos, and the panel can go on the outside. There's I believe there's a 6-foot cable on these lights, so you can actually put the panel outside and run the lighting inside. And we actually recommend to our customers to shine the light inside the gazebo up, so it lights up the whole ceiling, and then you get this beautiful ambient effect. And then throughout the night, a big thing about gazebos late at night, kids get in there and they want to beat stuff up. If there's a light in there, it's less likely they're going to have issues. The outdoor sports areas. I don't know if you folks have a lot of skating rinks, pond skating rinks, or what would you say it? Skating rinks that you do outside. I've seen them near walking trails here. You kind of take the hose out and you make a skating rink out of it. But it's very difficult in a lot of these locations to get the utility to come in, put up a pole just for a light. And one light, as you know, is never enough. You need 3 or 4 lights around a skating area to brighten it up. We just did a test last year. We took one of our lights and stuck it on one of the poles that we had. I know it might be a bit funny. Yes, it is a tire full of concrete. I know. But you can use that design. It does work because it also makes the light very mobile. You can actually just pour a concrete base in a mold and you can move these lights around. But this light here is a helion light, and this lit up half the pond that the kids were skating on because the parents were afraid the kids were going to have slips and falls and get hurt and have no lighting out there. And the reason why I put it out there is because I used to drive past every night, and what would you see? All the parents were lined up with the cars running with the headlights on. So this is a much better solution. It's better for the air. It's better for sound, and it's a renewable energy solution that's very effective. And on the right side there, the rural barn. That's my own barn. And to be honest, I was just too cheap to put a light up on the eave, so I decided to try one of these out, and it's been there for a few years now. And it works great. Even the other night, I had a friend come over. He wanted to borrow a skidoo, and it was all lit up, and he was able to get on it and go on. It was so handy to have. And this light is actually on a timer, so it actually goes off 4 hours after dusk. Otherwise, it'll be shining into my house, driving me crazy. Next one there, Megan. Yes, and the solar moonlight. I'll get to the ceiling light in a second. The moonlight is kind of the main light that we offer. This is a very robust light. I just want to show you really quickly because you're probably all wondering, well, what happens when the light burns out? Do I throw it out? Is all my money gone? Well, no, you don't. The light is modular. This is the armature assembly, as you see in the image there. It's magnesium aluminum alloy, and It's very strong. And as it goes for vandalism, you're not going to break this thing off. You'd have to work pretty hard to break this. The lens itself is a polycarbonate, as I mentioned. And then you have the lighting assembly itself. I disassembled this a little bit just to show you. There's a battery module inside here, and the battery is actually replaceable as well. The connector up top, you take off the nut, and you can actually slide the whole battery out and slide a new battery in. And that's only after the light is after 15 years old and you wanted to change it. Might have a different model by then, I don't know, but we've been having these for a long time. All the business is done on this card. This is a proprietary type of PCB. It's actually not on fiberglass PCB at all. It's actually on a piece of aluminum. And all the light is built into the top here. These lights are Philips LED, developed in California, and they're a very robust light. And all the brains, if you're worried about electronics going bad, it's all replaceable, including the light board. But this is the entire computer that controls everything. You can see all the remote function, everything's built into this, and this is also replaceable, and it's only a few dollars to replace. I'll just turn the light on here for you now, just to show you. A second here now. So this is the light by itself, and it's as simple as just hooking up the solar panel. And it's a very bright light. It's about equivalent to like 60 or 70 watt output from a LED light bulb, but with the light lens on it, it actually broadcasts the light in a cone shape. That way, all the usable light is not shone out to the side; it's all shone down like shaped like an ice cream cone, and it makes it very effective. What do I do with the remote here? So with it plugged in, I just want to show you a couple examples here. There's demo mode. It just shows the light if you wanted to show it to somebody. But there's the dawn to dusk mode. And right now it's detecting the lighting from inside the room here. So the light is off. And there's also a timer mode on the remote as well. And there's also the motion detection. If I had you out in the field right now with the light up on a pole, I'd be able to show you a bit better. Is it a completely sealed electronic board? It is. I'll tell you where these lights are installed. The Department of Fisheries and Oceans put these on their wharf. They've been out there for years. Once the light is inside the module, inside the lens, it's completely sealed. It's completely sealed inside. So it's IP65 rated. We've had these lights operating in over 150-kilometer winds right along the seashore. In fact, we've even had the ground erode in Port aux Basques, and the entire pole and concrete came out of the ground and was left overhanging, and water was splashing on the lights, and the lights still operated. It kind of looked silly. Remember, you got those funny lights in Halifax on the wharf? Well, it kind of reminded me of that. The light was leaned over on its side and was still operating. It's kind of saying, hey, I'm still here. So yeah, it's a good question. They are a really good light, and they're very robust in salty conditions. Some notes here for the moonlight. Sorry, yeah, I had to apologize. Megan made this slideshow for me because I'm working remotely, so just bear with me. Boardwalks. I don't think we have an image there, but it's a great light for boardwalks because you're mentioning salty conditions. The town of Placentia, they've chosen this light to put along their boardwalk, and they often get winds that exceed 120, 130 kilometers an hour. And they don't just get wind, they also get the ocean spray with it, and their lights still look as new as when they installed them. They're also a great light too if you were trying to fill up dark spaces, especially behind, sometimes there's utility sheds that you have for trailways. So they're great for lighting up utility sheds or even the walkway going to an outhouse, or at trailheads where you have a fork in the road and sometimes there's a sign. We have a lot of those here for the Skidoo Association. They use up a lot of our lights as well. Some folks are going to ask also about these lights if they're going to be on pathways near homes. Do they drive the neighbors crazy? Well, there's a couple things that you can do. And I'll get to nature in a second, wildlife. You can set the timer on these lights so they go off just a couple hours after dusk so they don't bother the neighbors. But the light doesn't actually shine out sideways. The lens is designed to direct the light in a conical shape. You can see this. It kind of looks like a pearl. And we're working with the town of Stanhope and PEI right now. They want to get several hundred of these lights to put along their boardwalk in Stanhope. And they're actually going to be calling them the Pearl Light because they do look up like a pearl from the side. But they have very minimal glare. You can see that they're there, but one of the reasons why it's nice to be able to see that they're there, because at least on a trailway, you have a point. If they are spaced 200 feet apart, you can see where that light is, but it's not going to be shining you in the face. As it goes for efficiency of the lighting, for the spacing, you kind of want to space these out. Like I said, 75 feet is nice at about 16 to 20 feet. But yeah, you can go further apart. I wanted to mention too about wildlife. I get a lot of questions about wildlife. The town of Portugal Cove, St. Philip's here, they asked me quite a bit about wildlife, including I had some questions from, I think it was North Sydney. They asked me about if it's going to be on all night and going to affect the wildlife because they're worried about migratory birds and things like that. Again, you can set these for motion sense, but again, 2, 4, or 6 hours after dusk, and they can go off. And if you need to, if there's times of the year that you want to close these trails, you can just go along with your remote and hit off, and you can just disable these lights all winter. And they'll sit there happily. They'll keep charging. They'll stay warm inside, but they just won't operate until you're ready to turn them on again. Is there a study, a video presentation by Dr. Mena? Oh, yeah, that's great. Yeah, I should have a look at that. Krista, maybe you can make a note of that. I'll have a look at that. Yeah, it's very important for animals because it can cause a lot of issues, and that was one of the big questions that we had. I want to move on to the solar sailing light now. I've already mentioned to you about all the neat features of the solar moonlight, but the sailing light has the exact same features. It has the exact same remote, and it works pretty much exactly the same way. The only difference about these lights is that you can actually install them 30, 40, even 50 feet high, and they're about 3 or 4 times the output of the moonlight. And they're ideal for parking areas because often it's very expensive to bring in electrical poles to certain areas for parking areas. We know certain places in Newfoundland that certain townships have paid millions of dollars to bring in electrical just several kilometers. So they wanted to put up a light for their parking lot. And we've saved townships hundreds of thousands of dollars over the last few years individually. Being able to provide them a light solution that's going to work year round, because that's the big issue too. They want a light that's going to work year round. And the sailing light has a very large battery. It also has a very large solar panel. And they do operate all year round on our own operating building in Lethbridge, Newfoundland. That's why I have for our main lighting solution. In fact, our entire operating building in Newfoundland is completely off grid. We don't have any grid power going to our building at all. It's all completely off grid, lit by these lights, including the Helion light. This you might notice also. There's something unique about our lights. The solar panel is not built into the light. If you're shopping for lights, it doesn't matter where. Make sure that the light has the ability to have a panel that's separate, that you can orient to the south-southwest on a 45-degree angle. We're in the north, and it's the way it is. Lights that have an integrated solar panel into the top of them, they're ineffective in North America. You need to go as far down as like the Carolinas to get a good effective range for these lights. They're not designed for North American climates, for Canada specifically. And even in the US, they're only really great, in the lower states. They're developed in Asia, and in the Asian climate, they have a lot more sun. It's a lot warmer, and they develop these lights because it's all integrated. It's cheaper to make, and that's why they do it that way. But our lights are very unique. You can actually stand that light up at a very, I think it's up to 60 degrees, and you can face it south-southwest. That way, in wintertime, you're getting full effectiveness of that light and that charging ability. Lights that have a panel that's integrated, 2 problems. The panel is generally oriented away from the sun, or it's oriented towards the sun, but it's not enough angle on it. And what that causes, it causes you to have to install all your lights in one direction, even though you want them to face the other way. The light might be a good price, but it's not going to get you through the winter. And you might notice a lot of these solar lights that you've seen, because I know there's skeptics there saying, hey, solar lights don't work. Don't take my word for it. Come and visit us, look around the towns. give me a call late in the evening and say, hey, Neil, bring me one of these lights and show me that it's working. I'll do that for you. But having these solar panels oriented to the south-southwest on a 60 or 50-degree angle is so important to get you through winter. Summertime, it doesn't matter. Sure, you can have your panel pointed up. And another thing as well is having these panels on an angle. They're not going to collect snow. The snow will get on there. As soon as it gets a little bit warm, the snow will just slide off. Again, it'll work throughout the winter. They're a great light. And we go to the next slide there too, Megan. There we go. So I just want to show you a couple of examples of this moonlight. Cameras are funny. I try to take these pictures the best I can, but on the left side here is actually the town of Port Blandford. And I can provide pictures to anyone who wants them, by the way, after the show. You can just say, hey, send me a light in this situation or a light in that situation. We try to get lights in all these different situations. But this is Port Blandford here. There's a lot of trees in the area. And this is actually a pathway that's got a lot of turns and bends into it. And they have their lights spaced at about 50 feet because they have a lot of bends. In the middle there, it's actually a new trailway in Portugal Cove, St. Philip's here in Newfoundland. They've just purchased over the last couple of years, I believe it's over 100 lights they've installed now. Their lights are spaced out between 50 and 75 feet, as you can see in the image. It's a bit hard to see there. But they did that because they didn't want to have any islanding, and they wanted to have the ability of the person walking. And these lights are at 16 feet, by the way. They wanted to have the person that's walking the ability to walk from one light island right into the other light island without any loss of light. And on the far right there in that parking lot, that's one of our service trucks there with a moonlight up over it. So it'll just give you an idea how bright these lights are in the nighttime when they're running at full output. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's any more slides there, Megan. This is a good one. Lighting broadcast types. So you folks have different kinds of trailways, and you have different parking lots and different areas that you want to have lights installed, and you're not sure what kind of light to install. Just let us know. The sailing light that I showed you earlier, that big light, is actually a Type 2 style light. It actually has more of a figure 8 shaped light to it, which is actually good for more like roadways. And it doesn't broadcast out from its base so far on the Type 2. So it's actually more ideal for like a roadway or something like that, where you don't actually want to have light spilling out into a road. Town like Stanhope in PEI, I mentioned, they actually have a pathway adjacent their main roadway. And because of Department of Transportation regulations, we can't have that light in that area spilling out into the roadway. So that was an option for them, that they could actually use that light to light up their walkway without spilling into the roadway. As it goes for Type 5 here, which is a circular style light, that's actually our moonlight. And the only interruption of light there would be the pole itself. But because of the design of the light globe, it actually is able to broadcast past that pole behind. So it actually gives you a full swath of light. And the Type 5 square, we'll see, is one is round and one is square. That square light pretty much is very much like the Helion light. And it gives you a bit of a shaped light. You don't want to have any inefficiencies in your light broadcast. And we actually recommend this Helion light, not just for gazebos, but they're also great for softball fields and soccer pitches and volleyball fields. They're really good for that as well. Lux levels, I want to explain something to you as well. You probably see a lot of solar lights out there. They're installed about 8 feet in the air. The problem is when you install a light that low to the ground, it's the same as pointing a flashlight low to the ground. You might have a 100,000 lumen flashlight. You point it near the ground, you're going to say, wow, there's only this much light. It's not very much. But if you stand back 100 feet and point it at a wall, there's a lot of lumens being able to be spread over a very large area. Yes, that's the point. Those are cheaper lights sit lower and look brighter. Ours sit higher to cover more area. That's true. Department of Fisheries and Oceans have actually purchased our lights, and they replaced their wired lights because they rusted out on top. They've actually bolted on our sailing lights and our moonlights directly to where those were, and those are about 40 feet in the air. They're really high up in the air, and and they actually offer a great broadcast area because they need to have them large enough to be able to offload boats. So it works for them very well. Yeah, get another slide there. There you go. Mounting and pole options. Yeah, a lot of different pole options. Some of you guys might even want to use some existing poles in the area. Just make sure you check with your local utilities or Bell. I think Bell has poles there too. Make sure that you're allowed to mount to them. But some places will allow you to mount the lights to the poles, and some won't. So just check with your local utilities. We do offer a light pole. We offer an aluminum pole that's an engineered and welded pole. They're about 20 feet high or so. And they have a flanged base. They need to be bolted down. We have that option. But the more cost-effective solution is actually a galvanized steel pole that we offer, specifically chosen for our moonlights. The sailing lights are a bit heavier. We recommend you put them on a more robust pole. But as it goes for the moonlight, that's a good question. Mounting on trees. I don't always recommend mounting on trees, but I've had places do it. Certain places you can't dig a hole because you can't disturb the root base, or they have mycelium farms there with mushrooms, and you can't touch those things. So some people have actually strapped them to a tree that was delimbed in the wind, or was damaged, or they were allowed to cut it away. But they've actually put them in the trees. The issue with trees is that you're going to lose a lot of solar radiance on your solar panel. Because the branches above will stick out over the panel. But some places, if you want to trim the tree back enough to do that, but it could also kill the tree. But we recommend a pole if you can. But yeah, we have seen people use trees before. I think I covered heights of the poles. There's different solutions. We even have a really nice wooden pole that we use. It's up to 40 feet high. It's you're welcome. It's up to 40 feet high. It's a wooden, I think it's a 6x6 or an 8x8, and that's a nice option too, because it's very cosmetically appealing because it's green and it's wood, and it looks like it kind of belongs there. Note and breakaway options. This is for insurance reasons. Certain lights are being installed along roadways, and we do have certified engineers poles as well that do meet certification for breakaway. Even guardrails along the side of the road, even though they're meant to keep you on the road, they are also engineered with a threshold for breakaway to kind of catch the vehicle and break away like a zipper. So depending on where you want to install these poles, if you ever are asked this question by your insurance company, if there's certification for breakaway for the poles for traffic reasons, even skidoos, there are options for that as well. And there's a note here also about wind-related solutions. You guys have a lot of windy areas like we do. We help you kind of select the pole that you're going to need. Some poles we actually help you select might even be kind of have some movement to them, but that's all into the design. We rather have them be able to move a bit more in the wind rather than just resist the wind, and that prevents breaking near the bases. And because these are not lights that need to be ETL or UL certified, they don't have to meet any electrical standard in Canada, and I'll get into that in a minute. You can mount them with any type of pole pretty much, as long as it meets the engineering standards for being able to hold that amount of weight with the EPA rating. EPA rating is those wind numbers and other environmental factors such as snow loading and wind and ice loading. To make sure it's going to be able to sustain the light. So don't just install the light at anything for your insurance. Make sure that you're going to install it on something that's going to be approved, it's going to work. And because the worst thing you can have is a light falling over across a trail or falling over on somebody. You don't ever want that to happen. And it can happen with anything. Trees fall over. You can't insure the trees, but we try to do what we can. On the bottom right here, I don't know if you can see, this is Bowring Park in St. John's. Bowring Park is the largest park the largest municipal park in St. John's. It's really big. It was actually donated by the Bowring family back in the early 1900s, and they were going to dig up all their roads and all their walking trail areas to put new wires in the ground. But we had a conversation with them one day, and they asked us, "Do you have a solution to because we don't want to spend a couple $1 million digging up all the ground and running new wires." We brought down a couple lights and we give them a sample light to try out. And they've been using our lights ever since. They use the saline light and they use the moonlight together, depending on the areas. Most of their parking lots now, especially along the utility areas, are all lit by the saline light now, and the moonlight's actually replaced all the main trail lights, including the roadway through the park. And they've been there for quite a while now. And it's a very heavily treed area, and I walk there rather often because I grew up in St. John's. And those lights are always operating, and they're plenty bright. In fact, even some of the old R25s they have installed there are still operating. They're not so bright, but they're still running. Yeah. And I want to mention there also, you see on the top right, you might notice there's some flags there next to that light. That's near a cenotaph, a war memorial in Shoal Harbour, Clarenville here in eastern central Newfoundland. And we try to work with a lot of community groups such as Legions, Lions Clubs, and other groups to try to provide lighting. And what we've done, we've started a program called Light in the Darkness, which is a foundation which provides lighting for communities and groups that really can't afford much lighting. And we try to work with those groups to try to get donations from the community to put up lights. And sometimes the lights are donated, or sometimes we work with members of the community. They actually put a little plaque on their pole or their light, just saying, "Hey, provided by or provided in the memory of so and so." And this helps pay for the cost of that light to be installed. Plus, the whole community gets to use that light, and it works great on trailways as well. We've done. We had an older light called the B light. It was beautiful. I just can't get them anymore. I might start producing them again if I can. But these B lights they're more of a garden light, and they used to go on the top of a post. But they work much like the moonlight, where they provide a light around in a full circle. But we provided those for the town of Twillingate at the Hospital Pond Park, and we can provide pictures of that as well. But they put up, I think it was 78 lights there, and the only way they were able to fund that entire program was by asking people at the hospital who wanted to donate in the memory of a loved one. They could donate a light and donate a pole and have their name on it. As many of you have trails, I'm sure there's lots of park benches. Everyone's donating park benches now in these trails, and there's way too many park benches. We love the park benches. I've got family with park benches with names on it in memory of family. But a Light in the Darkness is a program that really represents a person's life. It gives them a light that operates all night. It's renewable. The nice thing about renewable energies is that the device lives. It doesn't receive power from a source and then light up. It produces its own power. It's alive. It's a living thing. So that's something that we really love about these lights as well. We have another slide there, Megan.
Neil, just a quick time check. We've got about 10 minutes left for the presentation portion until we get to the questions and discussion portion.
Good timing. We're at the end anyway.
Great.
Perfect. Installation of these lights, folks, pretty easy. I think I mentioned to you earlier with the skating rink, you can actually do a gravity base, which is a big block of concrete with a pole in it. But generally, we install these lights. Like we just finished some for the town of Long Harbour here in eastern Newfoundland. There's no trenching to be done. There's no electrical to be brought in. There's no special skills to be needed. You could do these with a pick and a shovel. I recommend probably a little mini digger. If you have sandy areas, you can get an auger, which is pretty easy. Or you can actually get, I can't remember what it's called now, but it's the netting where you fill full of boulders. And you can actually do that and put your pole in those and then put your light on top as well. The nice thing about this, it doesn't tear up the whole landscape. Often when we install these lights, we'll peel the sod back, we'll just roll it back. We'll dig our hole, put our dirt on some tarp. We'll put the sonotube in, we'll put the concrete, and even before it's cured, we're able to backfill everything and put the sod over, and everything cures in place, and the light's already installed. You can actually install the light on the pole in the concrete and set it and then go away all in one shot. You don't need to return to remove bracing or anything like that. As long as you have a nice day to do these things, it can all be done in one shot by volunteers or anyone who knows how to use a level and just plumb that thing. As you see here in the images, dig the hole, place the sonotube. Sonotube, for those who don't know, it's a big cardboard tube, looks like a toilet paper tube, 4 feet deep. You fill it full of concrete, about 6 to 7 bags of Quickcrete you buy at the store, mix it with water, dump it in, and just plumb that light. And once that concrete starts to set, which happens in a few minutes, you can just actually set that light where it needs to be, plumb, and then you can walk away. And the nice thing about it too, gives you a chance to orient that light as well, just right where you want it. And you need a compass on your phone or just a regular compass. Point that solar panel toward the south-southwest, point the light towards the trail, and you're done. You walk away. And that's pretty much it for that. And it shows there about 16 feet in height. That's where we like to see those moonlights, and the sailing light about 20 feet or so. Next slide there. And yeah, so lighting as a risk mitigation strategy. I mentioned that earlier in the show. That is very important to have these lights as it goes for, as someone asked about vandalism. So lighting actually does reduce vandalism. It decreases collision risk, because I got people out there with a little headlamp at the nighttime and they're doing a cross-country ski and they're moving pretty quick. And if there was a light there available at a turn on the trail, it's a lot easier to see someone coming rather than just a little light in the trees, and it prevents people from crashing. I don't know if everyone has done cross-country skiing and you're coming down the hill, it's hard to stop, or you're going into a tree. Assault probability is a big thing today. That's the main reason why Bowring Park, because Bowring Park is near a bit of a, it's literally under an overpass, but they use the lights for safety for the locals for walking. And emergency response. It's very important too. If someone gets hurt in a trailway, imagine if emergency response has to respond to a trail somewhere and someone makes a call and they're 2 kilometers up a trail, and then they can't see to get up the trail. At least the lights will help them navigate and they can see what they're doing. Sight line surveillance and other confidence and visibility for first responders again. We have these lights available with cameras too if you need them, special order. For trail, some tree coverage. Yeah, like I said before, tree coverage is very important. We like to see these lights at least 16 feet in the air, but if you need to have them higher because you have tall trees, try to orient the light to a side of the trail that gets the most exposure for sun. If you ever get up 16 feet, even in a heavily treed area, deciduous trees are the worst. Coniferous trees aren't so bad. You're only getting 20 or 30 feet. Deciduous trees, yeah, you're getting up 50, 60 feet in the air, even higher, especially because I drove through Nova Scotia there last year. It's some big trees over there. You might want to probably clear the area a little bit, or you want to just use probably a different light, much higher, and you could probably use one sailing light at 40 feet in the air rather than using 3 moonlights. So you'll get pretty much the same amount of light over a much broader area, but the installation is much higher because you need an engineered base and everything to go in place. But really, if you look at the cost, yes, it might be twice the cost for mounting it, but then you're looking at 1/3 the light cost as well. Yeah. I think that's it for that slide. And there you go. The Snowmobile Association of Nova Scotia, same as ATVNs, the trail system. You guys have such great groups over there. We're such hodgepodge here, just trying to do stuff on a tight budget. But yeah, you have the off-road riders and the canoe, kayak, Nova Scotia. I wish we had all that stuff. But we know that there are a lot of liability insurance umbrellas. We don't have that issue here, where liability insurance is required so much. The townships kind of cover these things. But lighting is going to greatly reduce liability coverage costs, especially if you have areas done such as parking lots. And they're going to like this too, because it just shows due diligence, risk reduction, and public safety overall. Yeah. Any plans to create a bollard light? We do have a bollard light. I just haven't gotten into it. Not today. That beetle light that I mentioned to you is a great bollard light, and I'll send you some information on that. Chris, just take a note of our friend there, and we'll send some information out about our bollard lights. We don't use bollard lights here so much because they end up under the snow, and then they end up full of water. But if you guys are looking for a bollard light solution, we do have that as well. I'm hoping to get a chance to actually visit Nova Scotia and walk most of your trails. I've only walked a few now. I've covered pretty much everything in Newfoundland as it goes for the major trails, but I'm an avid hiker myself. Next slide there. Yes, Neil at solarwindsenergy.com. Send me an email. I'll get back to you right away. Designed for Atlantic climate. As you see, the panel is up on an angle. It's an IP65 light. Built for wind exposure. We've had them over 150-kilometer winds. Salt air. Not only that, they've been enveloped in salt. Sometimes you can peel the salt off of these things. Snow load resistance. Excellent snow load resistance. It's all metal. And the battery performance speaks for itself. Like I said, we got these things in Goose Bay. We got a guy with one in Nain at his cabin. We don't even know how it's working anymore. It had like -30 over there the other night. We thought it was going to break. But anyway, it still works. We're a Canadian-oriented company. We assemble these things here in Newfoundland. Yes, many of the components are from overseas. We're actually working with many groups right now to start manufacturing these things in Eastern Canada. From Nova Scotia, we're going to be sourcing plastics right through Newfoundland and even New Brunswick to try to bring this product into our area so we can have a product that we can offer that's made right here and we can offer to the rest of the country. Yeah. And quality control is pretty high. Why? Because my name is on it. I want to make sure it works good. And everyone knows my phone number down here. It's kind of like Australia. You can call the prime minister he probably lives in the town locally, right? We have a next slide there. EV chargers, want to get through real quick. Anybody wants a free electric vehicle charger for the parking lot? Let me know. I have free electric vehicle chargers. There's no gimmick. We work with Plunk EV, part of Sun Country Highway. Some of you know that we were in Nova Scotia about 10 years ago installing these free chargers. We're doing it again. So let me know. It's great for tourism. It brings the EV charger, the EV driving community into your trails, and it eliminates range anxiety, especially for some of these trails that are off the beaten path. It's also good for grant applications. Is that it, Megan? Oh. And thank you. Thank you very much for coming to the show. We don't do a whole lot of shows. I design and engineer stuff all the time. I'm usually out in the woods doing these installs. Like I said, I walked every trail here. This is what we do. I'm always in Nova Scotia. I'm in PEI in New Brunswick, and I'm not from Newfoundland as such. I'm from Eastern Canada, so it's all home to me. So thank you very much. Take down my phone number. Give me a call. That's our website. Have a look at our site. We're adding more stuff daily, and we have a Facebook page too. Apparently, the ladies have done a good job with that, and you can reach out to us as well.
Great. And thank you so much for that. And maybe, so we will send all of this contact information. And I do believe that the copy of the slide presentation too. And this is being recorded. So maybe if you could take it off of shared screen, and then we can maybe have a bit more of a discussion and more questions. But I do want to acknowledge, because there was a comment about light pollution and wildlife and so on. I just want to acknowledge, I do want to say, Hike Nova Scotia, in offering this webinar, we're not saying that we think that every foot of every trail should be lit up every night. There are certain situations in a trail context where lighting is a really good idea. So parking lots, gathering areas, some intersections, but it's definitely not for every trail. And we don't want to come across as saying that. And I do want to acknowledge too that, hikers are big nature lovers, and, light pollution and the effect that it does have on wildlife is a significant big deal. And we're sensitive to that. So we in no way, shape, or form are advocating that every trail be lit up. And also just acknowledging in the chat, you can time a light. You can shut them off when you want. You can have them come on when you want. So there is that. So just wanted to acknowledge that and make sure everyone was aware of that. Also, I just do want to ask a question about the remotes. So you have a remote, but you have multiple lights. Does each light have its own remote, or is it that you could have multiple lights on the same remote and then you just work with it from there?
So these are a commercial light, and the remote is designed in a way that it's actually it works with every one of our lights. The saline light, the moonlight, the helion, and throughout the line of lights that we have. It makes it really easy that you have a lot of redundant remotes, and the remote is designed that you can't stand 20 feet away and activate the lights like all at once. They're designed so that you need to be close up and you can activate each one individually. Because as you mentioned about dark areas, sometimes you want to have some of your lights stay on all night in your parking area. But as it goes for wildlife, you don't want these lights on at all in the winter, perhaps. You can actually shut them off all the time during the winter, depending on certain migratory birds, especially like grouse and things. You get them all confused. Grouse is confused enough. But we've actually had the town of Portugal Cove St. Phillips. That was our number one concern about getting these lights, was being able to deactivate them in the wintertime, because they didn't want to have the trail active because of animals. And the summertime, they want to have them shut off 2 hours after dusk. So.
All right, so we have another question in the, I don't think I've missed any. Let me see here. Are you looking into any solar signage?
Solar signage. I wish I had time to get to that too. We have solar sign lights, and we also have solar signage such as yield signs, stop signs, you name it, solar signs. We also are partnered with Traffic Logics and JSF. We provide crosswalk signs, and we actually hold a contract now for the province of Newfoundland, maintaining all the speed signs and crosswalk signs.
Okay. Another question, is there any program for the disposal of batteries at the end of their life?
That's a big problem in Newfoundland and Canada in general. Lights are all made overseas, or sorry, batteries are all made overseas, and they don't make them here. And dispose of them is often an issue, and you got to pay to get rid of them. We work with MMSB, which is the recycling here in Newfoundland, and we provide the batteries to them for free because we can't get any cost for them. But they partner with us because we have goodwill, and then they ship them off for us to different recycling places on the mainland to get rid of them. So we don't want to see these things going to landfills by any means, ever.
Right.
But like I said, these lights, we haven't had the issue where we've had to replace many batteries. I think I replaced in my last 4 or 5 years maybe 3 or 4 batteries, and like I said, that was either due to vandalism or the light was ancient.
Right. And so the question is what is the life expectancy of the batteries, like the stated life expectancy?
A lithium iron phosphate battery should last you between 10 and 20,000 cycles. That's full charge cycles. And generally, in the summertime, your battery will only be used about 30% anyway in the nighttime. Wintertime, they're going to get some full cycles. They're going to get drained all the way down, recharged again. But in real life, we've seen these lights running, like I said, at least 12 to 15 years without any major degradation of the battery.
Right. Okay. Any other questions? And while we wait for questions, I'm just going to share my screen really quickly here because we do have, here it is. There is a prize draw that you can enter into to win one of the moonlights.
This one.
Yeah. So I will put it in the chat, but we'll also follow up in an email to everyone who registered the link to enter into that draw. So the deadline is Friday, and yeah, you can have one of these mailed to you, and then you can check it out and give it a try.
Yeah, we often demo a lot of these lights as well to townships in Newfoundland. So if there's anyone serious out there who would like to demo a light as well, let me know. That we can have a demonstration of a light. You can try it in your town for a period of time.
Right, and so I will try to bring up that. I will put that in the chat. Let's see.
And as everyone's noticed, I completely disassembled the light and rebuilt it with one screwdriver in a few minutes. So it's, like I said, it's very modular and you can repair it infinitely.
Okay. Oh, we do have another question here. How do you decide the light height versus spacing for proper coverage?
A lot of that really depends on who's installing it. There's so many factors involved. Some places don't want to have the lights too high because it can be seen from houses, where other places want them very high so they can have a smaller amount of light broadcast over a much larger area. And as it goes for spacing, some people don't want to have any islanding because of security reasons. They want to be able to walk from one light swath right into the other, where other locations want to have a light, just enough light so you can identify where you need to go rather than walking out to a field. So they're used as markers and lighting areas for that. So it really depends, but at no cost, we help you design all those things. If you ever want to know how to put those lights, you just reach out to us. We'll do all the measurements for you on your trail and help you figure out exactly what you're going to need for that area. Because we have the experience with these lights. I've installed hundreds of these lights myself. Trust me, I've got the calluses from digging. So we install them for different places for different reasons, but the spacing is basically up to the community what they want, and the height very much the same thing again. But as it goes for correlation from height to spacing, 16 feet high, 50 foot wide, for the moonlight. Saline light, you can have them at 40 or 50 feet high, and you're looking at over 100 feet swath.
Any other questions? Anything else? All right. Okay, well, if there aren't any more questions, we can end a little bit early. And again, this is a recorded webinar, so we will send you a link to the recording. And oh, wait a second here. Price, there's a price question, and there is, are there options for type of, oh, let's see, type of light or soft white?
That's a good question. We're going to get a little bit technical. So the yellower a light is, the more energy it takes to sustain that light on a battery. The whiter a light is, the less energy it takes because it has a lower spectrum of colors. So the higher spectrum of colors that you produce, from the infrared to the ultraviolet, if you have a wide spectrum of very yellow light, it also attracts lots of bugs. Well, that's because they're chasing the ultraviolet light and that light. But it produces it takes a lot more energy to sustain a yellower light. The whiter light has a narrower band, which uses far less power and makes it far more efficient. So if you ever see lights that are kind of a crisp blue white, that's for that reason. But our LEDs are very, very highly efficient. So we actually edge more towards the white rather than the blue to try to get a happy medium.
Okay, and can you talk some prices?
Yep. So let's say we had a retail price for this moonlight here. It's $449 off the shelf in the store. If it's on a project level, that changes a lot. Often what we'll do, we'll try to combine lighting prices with the poles, and along with the amount of lights that there are. Lighting can get all the way down into the 300 range very easily, depending on the amount of lights and the design that's involved. And we try to package the lights with the poles, all delivered at once, and it keeps prices down as well.
Okay. And then there was a question about solar signage options on the website, and then Megan did respond that on the website they're called the broadcaster lights, so you can check that out on the website. So price and white light. Okay.
I want to mention also the sailing light. I never mentioned the price of the sailing light. That sailing light, that bigger light, looks like a street light. They're about $1,000. They range from $949 up to about $1,150, and that's because they come in a different range between 80 and 120 watt output.
Okay. Oh, and someone they missed the cost of the pole. If you could say the
yeah,
cost.
And cost of the poles can range as well. I think the most cost-effective pole is the galvanized steel pole. They're only a couple $100, and they're very easy to install. It comes with a cap to go on top. Looks very cosmetically appealing. You've even seen one picture there. It was a summertime shot showing several lights along a meandering path, and that's what they used, a galvanized steel pole. If you're looking for a height and cost effectiveness, you're looking at for the wooden pole, the 8x8 pole, and bang for the buck, that's the way to go. Otherwise, you have to go with an engineered aluminum or steel pole, and that can range a couple $1,000 because then you need to have an engineered base and concrete and cage and everything.
Mm-hmm. Else. Oh, let's see. Very interesting. Greg is saying, very interesting thinking a portion of one of our destination rail trail that has heavy use. Thank you. Thanks for the info and facilitating hiking-us. Oh, you're welcome. Are there different finish colors available?
That's a good question. The reason why the lights are the color that they are, they're a silver color, and it's a good balance between self-heating and then resisting solar irradiation. We don't want the bodies of these lights in the summertime to heat up too much. Depending on what color they are, they can attract different wavelengths. Let's say they were a black or a purple or a blue or even a red. They'll attract solar radiation, causing the light to heat up, and it can actually damage the battery if they overheat. The lights are not white because we want to have something to keep them a little bit warm. So they do reflect solar radiation, but they do absorb some light. If they were pure white, then they would also have another issue where they wouldn't gather enough light. And also, white is not resistant to UV radiation either. It'll cause breakdown of the paint.
Another question was, any recommendations for a toilet area site? What kind of lighting would you use in that case?
Yeah, that Helion light that I showed you before, that square-shaped light, it's really good for that area because you can either put it up on a tree or a pole and shine it down into the area, or you can actually install it inside if you don't have that ceiling opening for lighting to come in from the day. You can actually install the light up inside and put the panel on the roof, and it'll automatically come on and go off all day and all night.
Okay, great. And then another question about price. So what is the price range for the ones for the gazebo?
It's a good question. Can't believe I forgot that one. I think those are $349. Megan can correct me on that, but if you call for a quote, I think they're around there a little bit less. $349. There you go. Plus tax.
Okay.
And they come with a remote too, and they also have a sensor built in.
And so which light was that called? That was the
Helion light.
Helion, right? Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Any other questions? That's a good question.
Two questions there.
Oh, there we go. Long-term stability of your company. How long will your company be around? Succession. That's a good question.
I'm 40 years old, and I'm not going to give this up until I'm an old man. And the company was started in 2001, and I love this stuff. I didn't come into this company just on a whim. I came into this because I work with the company, but I also love the environmental part of things. And everything I do is about efficiency. I come from a technical world with computers, and it was all about efficiency and saving power and seeing how much performance you can get out of something with so many few watts. So when I moved into this business, it was exactly the same kind of thing, trying to find that efficiency. So it's not just a job for me, it's a passion of what I do. And I see continue doing this for a long period of time. We'll
Fair
be around.
question, though. You know, because if you're not going to be around in like two years' time, and then you
When your light breaks in 12 years, call me. I'll still be here.
We'll give his home address. So you can come looking for him. All right. Let's see. Great information. And yes, you will get a recording. I'm just reading this in the chat. You will get a recording after the webinar is over. Okay, lots of great questions. And last chance for questions. Let's wait a second here. And if you're having trouble with the chat, you could also unmute and ask as well. If you have a more detailed question, that's fine as well.
Yeah, you can be as technical as you want. I did have a question a couple years ago. People asked me if you could actually change the color of the light for Christmas time.
Oh.
It was a good question. And I made a recommendation to get, I think it was colored plastic. Some of you who are old enough to remember, you can get the candies at Sobeys or at the grocery store one time, and you put them up to your eyes. You could see through and see red or green or blue, different shades. Well, you can also get that construction plastic as well as different shades. You can put it inside the moonlight lens. Broadcast different color light, green or red, and then you just easily take it out. So it's great for the Christmas season, and you can even do it for Easter. You can do pink and different colors. That was a question that we had, and we had another question too about someone asked if we could network the lights so you can remote one light and then have them all network. $449, no, you can't do that. For a higher price, maybe we could, but that's as much technology as we can fit into these things for the price.
And there was one more question. Will you post where you have setups so that we can view them? So I guess is there some place where you can view more examples, I guess, and photos?
Yeah, in fact, I think Megan, we should make a note there. We might even want to put a couple pins there for Google Earth. See if it's kind of hard to see trails from Google Earth, but we'll provide some photographs that we've taken of each light install. And that way you can have an idea how they're installed and where they're installed and how well they operate. And feel free to call those communities and ask them, hey, is that light any good? That's fine too, because we've let them know that, because that's kind of how they work. They all kind of communicate with one another to see if these lights are good.
Great. Okay, another question. Can the lights be connected to a sort of alarm system for security?
As it goes for the lighting that have the cameras built in, yeah, they can actually have a notification system built into them that comes up on an app on your phone, just similar to your camera, your ring camera. Like I said, these are a bit of a more of a custom ordered thing because they can be integrated into pretty much any of these lights. So just let me know if there's something that you need specifically. I'll get you a cost on it. But yeah, there's a camera installed in some of these lights that you can have, and they have software built in that will do notification if there's someone that walks by. Yeah, they're good for security.
Okay, another question. So please show the helium square light and maybe talk a little bit about preventing theft inside, if it is inside of an outhouse, how you could go about securing it so it's not stolen.
That's a good question. I wish I had one on hand to show you. I'll show you how big it is. Anyone have a tablet, an iPad? It's about the size of an
Well, I
iPad.
think Megan, didn't you have one of the slides showed a schematic of it, possibly?
Yeah, there's a schematic there she had.
Oh,
But
wow.
that's a great question about vandalism. That's one of the vandalism issues that we had. The Gander Snowmobile Association, they had a light installed inside the warm-up shack. They had it up there a week, and they came back, and someone took the light. Didn't take the panel, just took the light. A totally useless light that they can't use. So they installed it inside of a cage. That was their solution. They put it inside of a metal cage, screwed it to the ceiling, and they never had an issue since. Uh, like anything, you're going to have people that do bad things. But if anyone's looking for an all-in-one security solution, we actually do provide a fully environmentally enclosed enclosure that you can hide away inside of a cabin or even bury it. And it can provide you a security system, cameras, alarms, lighting, whatever you need. So many different custom solutions. Anything you can probably imagine, we can probably make it for you because we make systems even for the island of Fogo. They have studios, those strange looking buildings that people do art in. We provide the power solutions for those, and we actually found a very innovative solution to provide them security and power throughout the year in these buildings.
Great. And Megan does say in the chat there that she has a something on hand there. Maybe share your screen or, oh,
Oh,
there
there
we
it is.
go.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe a little closer or, yeah, I
Oh,
think because you have
you got your
the
blur on.
screen in back of you. Yeah. Maybe take away your background.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just about to try and get that out. See if I can.
Plug it into the
There we
panel.
go.
That you got to plug it into the panel there, Megan.
Yeah, the panel is just at the side. I'll lift it. It's a little bit big.
Yeah. Get your remote and you can spark it up too. You turn off your light in your room.
Panel.
Oh,
Yep. It's a pretty big panel. Yeah, it's a 120 watt panel.
Yeah, there's a couple different options for the panel. That one's the larger one, but I'll turn the light off and.
Ooh. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a pretty bright light. Yeah. Yeah, we had it at the municipalities conference, and I was turning it on to show people. I finally had one lady complain. She said, "Stop lighting the light up so often." She said, "I got spots in my eyes." Yeah, so they're a pretty bright light.
Too many times I've looked directly at it and I'm like getting those spots.
It's a really bright light, and like I said, they've been in some pretty harsh environments. The only thing we don't do with the Helion light, we don't point them up towards something. We generally point them down towards something. We don't ever want to risk any water ingress to the lights because they're not designed to be pointed up. If you do need a sign light that's going to do that, we do have our sign light product that we have. I don't know if we have a picture there, but the ski hill, and you can probably see it from Google Earth, the ski hill, White Hills in Clarenville. They've chosen our solar sign light for their new sign that they put up as well. And now townships are actually starting to use them for their town signs because some of you folks might know how expensive it is to run light poles and pay for a power bill for a sign. It's not cheap.
All right. Keep calling for questions and they keep coming in. So anything else? Any final questions before we wrap it up? I don't know, Megan, are you able to share your screen and show that sign?
Yeah, I have an image of the White House sign so I can share it quickly.
Great.
Yep. You got one of me on the scaffold holding it up. It was pretty good.
I do have that in the file, but I have one just the light pointing right directly at it, so I will share my screen.
Yeah, if we have a couple more minutes, what time is it? Yeah, we're getting pretty close here now. We could probably share a couple lights there.
Let me see your slides. There you go.
There it is. It's White Hills. And we have one of those sign lights on each side.
And yeah, we got, I believe this is you.
Yeah.
Putting it up. Then we had it on the geosite one as well.
Yes, along the highway there.
Geo Park.
Blow that one up there.
There you go.
Yeah, that's right along the highway. That's a really nice one. Yeah. And that runs completely independent. And one there, Master Light there too, Megan, the one with the battery on the right there.
This
Keep going.
one?
Next one, next one.
This one?
That one, yeah. Yeah. There's another version of the same light, and just gives you some mounting options and stuff there too. Yeah. And the solar panels are very high end. They're usually a German or US made solar panel.
Yeah, and those ones come in various sizes. The most popular, the 4 feet and 6 feet one.
Yeah. Yeah. And as I noted, someone asked about solar street signs. Uh, yeah, we also have the signs like the yield sign, the stop sign. They get the flashing edges. That's all solar. And like I said, we also do work with JSF and Traffic Logics for their traffic control signs as well, and solar beacons. Yeah. And marine beacons. We also have solar marine beacons for boats and wharves.
So I put the link in for that prize draw again, if anyone wants to try their hand at winning the moonlight. But again, I will follow up afterwards with a link to the webinar recording, a link to the various links that we've shared in the chat, and copy of the slides. We'll send it all along to folks in the next day or two. But I do want to thank Neil and Megan and Krista for sharing your product with us. I know you're not the only product out there, but you are one of the better ones and one of the more probably practical tools out there for folks to use lighting in relation to their trails or their parks in a probably a pretty sustainable and low cost way compared to getting things wired in. And that's why Hike Nova Scotia wanted to feature this, because we do know that that's a tool that a lot of trail groups, especially who we serve, are contemplating these days. And in this day and age, sustainability as well as cost effectiveness go a long way and are desperately needed. So thank you so much. Yeah, folks, we will follow up afterwards. And happy trails, everyone.
Thank
And
you very much.